Hello, everyone. This is Lender Chat with KFP Investors on March 16th, 2023. And I'm going to go ahead and read you our disclaimer. KFP Investors LLC does not give legal, tax, economic, or investment advice. KFP Investors disclaims all liability for the action or inaction taken or not taken as a result of communications from or to its employees, contractors, clients, prospective clients, or participants. Each person should consult their own counsel, accountant, and other advisors as to legal, tax, economic, investment, and related matters concerning real estate and other investments. So there's the sum total of that. Don't sue any of us, including Kendra, and we'll get started here. So Kendra Teasley, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
Kendra is an expert in title searches, title insurance, all things real estate title. We've known each other for about a year now, I think.
Mhm. Yeah.
And both members of Real Estate Investors Nashville, the Nashville chapter of the National Real Estate Investors Association. Steve, do you mind to mute yourself? We're getting some
What's that?
feedback.
I'm sorry.
Oh, I think I got it now. Nope. Are you hearing that feedback?
I am not. Is it me?
Okay. I don't know. Steve and let me try this. Are you all still hearing feedback? Okay. All right. So, Kendra, I've got you temporarily muted. I'm going to unmute you here shortly. But Kendra and I have known each other for about a year. We both participate in Real Estate Investors Nashville and love that group, love Rhea. And Kendra is going to share with us a bit about her story. Kendra, I would love for you to tell us, how did you get started in real estate?
Great. Thank you so much, Chris. So basically, I joined Toro about a year and a half ago. Toro is a family-run business. It was started by my son-in-law in 2018. So my son-in-law is an investor as well as an attorney, and he just felt that there might be a better opportunity for investors and when they go to close transactions. So he and some partners started it back in 2018, and then had some partners at the time, gone through some different things, and then his wife joined the company. She's my daughter, went and got her title license, and so very much a family-run business. I was in a national position, traveling all over the country, and then the pandemic hit, and I'm like, ooh, I kind of like being at home now. So I decided, talk to Matt and Taylor. They didn't have anybody to really run the business development side, so I joined them about a year and a half ago. So kind of covering operations as well as business development, really getting information out about Toro Title.
I love it. Thank you so much. And so, what makes, this wasn't on the list of questions, Kendra, but I want to make sure that we share your very best skill set and resources with everyone. What makes Toro stand apart amongst title companies?
So I think one of the things that makes us a little bit different is that we are very investor friendly. So some of the questions, I literally got 3 different inquiries today. Are you an investor friendly title company? Which would mean that we understand what investors are looking for, some of the types of deals that they're trying to do. And sometimes it's about timing. How quickly can we get this done? So some title companies maybe are not as versed in that or understand that maybe a certain lender needs documents created, or that an investor has a rush on a property because something may be going to a tax sale, or a different array of opportunities may be in front of them, that they need somebody that really can understand that. So that is one of the reasons why Toro was started. And I think that sets us a little bit apart from some of the others. So we do traditional TAR form, regular transactions that a realtor, real estate agent would send to us. But we also do a lot of investor clients that are repeat clients. So we've got a good relationship and they just keep coming back.
I love that. I can definitely confirm that an investor friendly title company makes a tremendous difference. I have had the unfortunate circumstance a few times of working with investor clients, and I've used whatever title company they had on the documentation and have had to say at the end of the transaction, just so you know, Mr. or Ms. Client, I will never work with that title company again. They
Mm.
just don't understand. Not all title companies are created equal, and many of them just do not understand investor transactions and how complicated they can get for sure. So I really appreciate you sharing that with us.
Absolutely.
Um, so what are your focuses right now? You mentioned business development for Toro.
Mhm.
Tell us what you're working on in your portion of the investment real estate world.
So, as you mentioned earlier, we are a participant in REN. So, one of the things that I do is I really try to go out and just let people know about Toro. We are not as big as a lot of them around town. We're a small company, very
Mhm.
mighty, have an amazing team inside the building that really does all the transactions, but maybe not everybody knows about us. So, my goal
Mhm.
is to go out and make sure that people are aware of Toro and what we offer. The other thing that I'm very passionate about is education. So
Mhm.
I like to hold a lot of CE courses for realtors, and that gives me an opportunity to meet new realtors, help them with some of their needs, which is getting those CE courses every year, and then just really being able to share education. So that's those are a couple of things that I'm really focused on right now: the networking and then offering courses.
Now, does Toro still host a monthly REN event there at your building?
So we've put it on hold right now. As you know,
Okay.
we're a family run company. They just
Mhm.
had a baby in January. So yay. Um, it's been a little bit challenging to get away for Matt to take off and do that. But
Sure,
we're
sure,
looking to
of
see
course.
about bringing that back.
Okay, well, good.
Yeah,
I hope that you do. Please let us know because I met one
absolutely.
of my favorite clients at one of your events. So
Awesome.
really enjoy that. Um, well, good. Well, what are some things that you can share with us that investors really need to be cognizant of when they are conducting a real estate purchase or refinance as it pertains to title? Because I'll be honest with you, even though I've been a real estate investor for more years than I care to share, um, and even though I had been in lending for 15 years, um, really in the last 3 to 4 years, I have gained so much education about the process of title and what all of that means and the value of it. So what are some things that you find that people often don't know and you would like to make sure that they do?
So for me, I would say the number one thing is communication. When we get the signed contract, if we can get that, the most amount of time that we can have is obviously ideal. Sometimes,
Mhm.
like I said, investors need to do things quickly. But if we get that signed contract as well as contact information right away, that helps us.
Mhm.
We can send it out to everybody. We can start getting the ball rolling. Typically, if we get it, we will try to order that title that same day. If it's later in the day, we would order the title search the next morning. But communication to me is ideal. If there is an amendment or an addendum that is put onto that contract, we need to know that right away because we do not want to put together a settlement statement that has old information. So the quicker we get that information, the better. We love that. The other thing is, like I said, to me, it's all based on communication. If you change
Mhm.
lenders, let us know, because we may be still trying to contact the other lender, which we're not getting a response. The other thing that I would say is if you are, um, like I said, changing different things like that. But when we send out a settlement statement for you to review in advance, please review it. We would never want anybody to be at the table and go, oh, wait, this is incorrect, or the commission's incorrect, or my assignment fee, whatever it is. We always want to make sure that we're completely buttoned up and not running it last minute. We don't want to change
Sure,
things at the last minute.
sure. And what, for those who may not be as well versed, what really is the purpose of a title search, and what are some surprising things that you might find?
So basically, when we get a contract, we will go ahead and put it through for a title search. And so basically, what they're doing is scrubbing all of the public records. They want to know who is actually on the deed. They want to know, is there a mortgage? Are there liens out there? Are there any things that we need to be aware of that maybe need to be cured prior to closing that transaction? So a lot of times we'll do things behind the scenes that
Mhm.
the buyer and seller maybe aren't even aware of, just to make sure that we get everybody to the closing table. We will get information back from our searches about the HOA. We've got to get those payoffs. We've got to get the mortgage payoffs. We've got to see if maybe there's memorandum of contract already on the property, different things like that. So we'll get those back, take a deep dive into what we've received, and then we proceed from there.
Do you have any stories that come to mind of some of the stranger things you've found?
Some of the stranger things. So one thing that I will say comes back sometimes when it's an error. So, that's one of the reasons why we do searches and you have title insurance. Um, there could be an error. A lot of times when things are being recorded, a lot of things are done manually. And maybe instead of zero point 0.8 acres, maybe it was put down as 8.0 acres or something like that, which is a vast difference when you're looking
Yes.
at acreage. Or maybe there is somebody's name spelled incorrectly or
Mhm.
things like that. So just unusual things that maybe come back. I know that human error sometimes has something to do with it. And there have been
Mhm.
properties where we went through to start the closing process, and then we noticed that somebody else already has a contract on that property. So those things have to be resolved prior to closing the transaction that we have.
Gotcha. I know some of the things that I have seen come about in title searches are liens that my clients didn't even know that they had.
Mhm.
And sometimes it's not even their lien. Somebody found a name that matched, their client's name. And so they attached a lien, but their client and my client are not the same person. But we still have to get those resolved before we can go to closing. So,
Yes, I'd say that happens quite often, especially if it's a
mm,
common name. Bob Smith, for
yeah.
example, is a common name.
Mhm.
So is it this Bob Smith or is it somebody else? So we really do
Mhm.
have to dive into that and make sure, like you're saying, to get those things cleared up prior to closing.
Mhm. So, a lot of people ask about lender's title insurance. If my lender is getting title insurance, why do I have to get title insurance? That's just another way for you to make me to spend another $300-400, right, Kendra?
Incorrect, but it's a great question. So that's the thing that a lot of people do ask. It's like, okay, so the lender, which lenders are not going to lend you money typically and not be insured. So if something were to
Mhm.
come back on that title after it's closed, they want to make sure that their money is insured. So the lender insurance only covers the lender. So if there is an owner, which it's probably either in an investment property or if it's your home that you're living in, it's probably one of the biggest investments you're going to make. You want to be covered as well. So they're two completely separate policies. So we always recommend that they get them at the same time because that can give you a simultaneous issue where you're actually going to be saving money that way. But you want to make sure that you're protecting yourself. And so it's completely separate than what a lender's policy would be.
So, what does my owner's title insurance do for me?
So basically, it's a one-time premium, which some people maybe don't understand that as well. When we think of insurance, we think of, every time, our monthly, our quarterly, our yearly insurance payments. This is a
Mhm.
one-time payment that you do at closing that helps to protect your largest investment against maybe something that was not found out or discovered during the title search process. So, if it's a covered occurrence, maybe there is an error that is out there that nobody knew about or that
Mhm.
was not discovered prior to closing. And then years later, possibly after you've closed, this person's like, hey, I have a right to that property. So, this would be something that could possibly be covered by your title insurance. So, things like that are really important. Or like we talked about earlier, where it could be an error in recording, where I thought it was this, but it's actually that, or the name was
Gotcha.
recorded incorrectly. So those are some of the things that we would want to protect against because you don't want you put a big amount of money into that big financial purchase, so you want to be protected.
So, of course, I was being a little facetious a few minutes ago about why do
Yes.
I even need owner's title insurance? As a lender, I will not continue a transaction if you tell me that you want lender's title insurance because you have to have it, but we can just skip owner's title insurance. I just won't do it. If I'm the lender on the transaction, you're getting both, if it's a
Love that.
purchase. So,
Yeah,
yeah,
it makes sense. It totally makes sense.
yeah, yeah. So, with the work that you do in investment real estate, and I know you've got a couple of years of experience in the title business, but looking back, if you could give your younger self, three pieces of advice,
Hmm.
either pertaining to title or investment real estate or anything closely related to those two topics, what would be the three pieces of advice you would give your younger self?
Be patient because there's a lot of information to learn. So I would say that, you kind of get maybe coming from another career, having a lot more experience coming into something new. You're like, I'm not sure why I don't know all of this. Well, you had years to acquire the previous knowledge. So I would say patience is one. Um,
Hmm.
I would definitely say not to pre-qualify anybody. Really make sure that you go through the process and talk to everybody because maybe it's not a great fit for them today, but they may remember you in the future and say, "Hey, I have a question."
Hmm.
And just constantly be giving back. I think making sure that we're constantly either educating folks or communicating or networking with people to make sure that they understand what's out there. Because this is I think we all maybe understand auto insurance or health
Hmm.
insurance, or this is something a little bit more unique. So,
Hmm.
I think I told you at one time, I literally I went and got my title license just because I wanted to understand more of it. I am
Hmm.
not the issuing title agent, but I wanted to understand like the basics and more details as to what this is all about. And so I'm really glad I did do that.
I completely understand that. I have quite a few certifications, but I wasn't necessarily after the certification. I was after the knowledge. It just
Mhm.
happened to come with a certification.
Right.
So, yeah, I definitely understand that. Um, well, and coming from a position of offering value, that is something I'm very passionate about. So I'm glad that you said that. And so that actually leads us to one of my favorite parts of Lender Chat. What kind of resources are you currently looking for? How can we and our network currently help you?
So I think maybe just getting the word out about, there
Mhm.
is uh well, a couple things. One, following us on Instagram and Facebook, Toro Title
Okay.
Toro Title. That would be great. And we're always trying to put different tidbits out there about education and different things that we
Mhm.
offer. That would be great. And then if you do find somebody that's like, hey, I'm maybe so with my title company. I'm at a 7, I'm at a 6, I'd like to be at a 10. Maybe just pass on our name or pass on a contact because that would be great.
Mhm. I love it. I love it. And tell us again your website for folks who want to reach out to you?
Yep. So we're on Instagram at Toro Title. And then we are on Facebook at Toro Title, as well as www.torotitle.com.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much, Kendra. Does anyone we've got cameras up, everybody except Tammy. Please let us know if you have any questions for Kendra at this time. I don't need to monopolize the conversation. If there's something that you want to know. Well, you must have explained it really, really well, Kendra. Did you have your hand up, Steve?
Yes, I've got a question.
Awesome.
Yes, please.
So, Kendra, what areas do you cover? Do you do title work outside of Tennessee or only in Tennessee?
It's a great question. So we do the entire state of Tennessee. We are just currently in Tennessee right now. And then we get a question a lot of times, Steve, about, well, I'm in, Gatlinburg. How can you help me? So we do cover the whole state, and we can offer multiple ways to close. So we can do a mobile notary. They can be in our office, or if the lender approves, we can also do online notarization. So we do notarize.com. So, and Chris, if you don't mind, I'd love to cover just kind of a little bit about the process of how we get started.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, when we're a closing agency. So we not only cover that contract, but a lot of times, we're the one that holds the earnest money. So we try to make it very easy for folks to send in their earnest money. You can wire it in, you can we could also use earnest, or you can, send us a check up to a certain amount. And then we want to make sure that we've got all those documents ready to go. And then once we close it, we record everything, and then we disperse the funds. So we're kind of, looking at the title, we're issuing the policy, but we're also making sure that everybody gets paid, that existing mortgage gets paid off. We're the one in the middle that's going to make sure that everything is taken care of.
Mm-hmm. That was a great question, Steve. Thank you. Any other questions? Okay. Well, I'm gonna.
More.
Yeah, one more, Steve.
Yeah.
One more.
Awesome.
You just want me to keep starting a new topic so that you can then make me back up. I know what you're doing, Steve. Go ahead.
On your website, do you have a pricing tool where like we can go in and put in, hey, for a purchase, here is the fees that would be paid out?
Yes, there absolutely is. So you can go in there, and basically we all understand that the title insurance is based on the purchase price or on the price that is being the lending amount. So you can do that, or if you'd like, you can just say, hey, Kendra, can you give me a quick quote? If you don't want to go through and dump in all the numbers and stuff like that, you can always contact us and we can give you a complimentary quote just to give you an idea. And I know, Chris, that's real important for you guys, because when you're giving those quotes out saying, hey, this is what we think it's going to cost, you guys want to be aware of that, so we can give you our fees and all of that information.
Very good. Yes.
Yeah.
We often, with several of our lenders, we have to have a written title quote before we can even upload the file.
Perfect. And that's something that we can easily do.
Fantastic. Steve, is there anything else you would like to ask the group? You gonna wait for me to move on to the next topic before you think of something?
Yeah, I'm good for now.
Okay. All right. Well, I'm gonna move on to the part of Lender Chat that Kimber calls the book report. So I have made it a goal for 2023 to read at least one business-related book per month. And this one was a doozy. No offense to Brian Burke. This is this month's book, The Hands-Off Investor. So this book is all about evaluating syndications, what that means, how to find a syndicator with whom you're comfortable, what different syndication structures are. And like I said, no offense to Mr. Brian Burke, but this does read like a school textbook. I did not find it particularly entertaining. However, you can see that I did find it particularly informative. So I say, yeah, it's definitely worth the cost. And I know that I mentioned previously, this one is from Bigger Pockets Publishing. I do really like to read books from Bigger Pockets because there are so many resources out there for books and mentorship and programs and gurus and all of that. And the I don't find that all of those folks are necessarily trustworthy. Many of them are making money on selling their books or their curriculum rather than in actually doing the things that they're allegedly teaching you to do. So, so I often like to look at Bigger Pockets Publishing because I know that Bigger Pockets has already vetted this person. So I don't feel like I have to do as much research about, how many times has this author declared personal bankruptcy before I'm willing to listen to them. Um, so it just makes life a little easier for me. A couple of things, and I encourage you all to also consider Bigger Pockets Publishing. Not everything that I don't think the next book I'm going to read is from Bigger Pockets, so I'll have to get an image of that for you. Let's see. A few bullet points of what I learned from this book is how to evaluate the real estate market on a national level and also on a more localized level, how to look at pro formas and how to double check the math and make sure that they make sense, how to make sure that the syndicator isn't just using wildly blown up numbers that look great on paper but are not realistic. Um, it's an encyclopedia of syndication terminology. I'm pretty sure. Let me verify. Yes, there's actually definitions in the back. And I learned so much. I mean, look, I've even got bookmarks with underlines, you guys. This was a really valuable book. I learned so much about the process of syndication and how to evaluate the paperwork. Syndication is not something I have ever participated in, but I feel like I now have enough knowledge to at least speak intelligently about it. So whole chapters on the questions to ask a sponsor about a syndication and why those questions are important. Let's see. My notes say, and the book tends to read like a textbook. However, given the subject, it would be nothing short of miraculous if it was also entertaining. So that's it does talk about pros and cons of IRR, which is internal rate of return. That's a new terminology I learned from this book. Internal rate of return. Cash on cash, IRR, equity multiples, and what all of those mean, how to evaluate them. DSCR is referenced in the book, but it's a different calculation than our lenders use. It uses a banker's calculation. So some folks have heard me talk about how banks use the terminology of DSCR, but I would call that a global cash flow. Because they use all of your personal income and all of your personal debt, and they combine that with all of the property income and all of the property debt. And so it's a global cash flow. The way that we use the terminology at KFP Investors of DSCR, we're talking about strictly the ability of the property to cash flow itself. So debt service coverage ratio, meaning the property's debt versus the property's income, and does it support itself? So just a little clarification if anybody is reading this and says, oh, that's what DSCR means. Not when we say it. That's what DSCR means when banks say it. The calculation results that you should expect are discussed, as well as possible reasons that they may fall outside of expectations. So basically, you get here sort of a guideline of what you should find when you evaluate a project and why the answers might be different than what you expect when you evaluate the project. Oh, I've got another note here. I have to be honest that the author used ratios with which I am unfamiliar. And I will need to read this multiple times to fully understand the math in some of this. But yeah, I've got plenty of points of reference to go back to. And yeah, I think I probably will try to read it again because it's some really valuable, comprehensive information. So if you're in any way interested in getting into syndications, sponsoring syndications, evaluating whether or not you want to invest in a syndication, this is a great tool. Just be prepared with some caffeine nearby. That is all I have to say about that. And as much praise as I just gave this book, we are actually giving away a copy. So if you are here, of course, if you're here, that's a silly thing to say. Would you please drop your email in the chat, and we will do a random drawing for all participants to receive a copy of this book in the mail. I have your copy over there. It's not marked up, unless you want the marked up copy. Might be more valuable. I'm not sure. So give me just a second. I left the copy of the book that I'm planning to read next. I left it in the house and I'm out here in the office. So let me see if I can find it. Ah, here it is. Okay, so I'm just going to share my screen so that you all can see the book. Share. So this book is called Invest in Debt. It is available on Amazon, obviously. So this time not from Bigger Pockets Publishing. So don't want anybody to think that I'm not using any other publisher. But I have heard so many great reviews about this book by Jimmy Napier. And I have a particular interest in note investing. That's something that I'm sort of kicking around these days. So yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing what Mr. Napier says about note investing. Additionally, it is a much shorter book, I'm proud to say. So that pleases me. I think I might get through it a little faster. And next month on Lender Chat, which Jennifer, I don't know, maybe you can look and tell us what the date will be. But next month on Lender Chat, we will be reviewing that book, Invest in Debt, and also giving away a copy of that book. So love gaining education, love sharing education with you. Also, next month on Lender Chat, we will have as our guest Miss Carly Radzimanowski. And Carly is one of my favorite people ever in real estate. She is so personable, so smart, and so fun, but also she is full of courage, exuberance, and encouragement for others. So I first met Carly. Her first real estate deal was she bought a portfolio of, I think, like 13 properties, and she could not keep all of them. So she picked the ones that she wanted and wholesaled off the rest. And I don't know of anybody else who would get into their first real estate transaction with 13 properties that they know perfectly well they can't buy. So I am just amazed. Carly has grown just a whole portfolio of rental properties and partnerships. She now works as a not just a real estate investor, but a commercial real estate broker. She recently has started her own business doing that. So I'm very proud of her and can't wait for you all to meet her. Jennifer, what else am I missing for announcements? I know I'm putting you on the spot here.
Next month's Lender Chat will be Thursday, April 20th. So Same time, but 4:20 at 4:30.
Yes. Oh, very good. And of course, our recordings of Lender Chat are going on to our YouTube channel, YouTube/KFP Investors LLC. This will be our third video that's going up on the YouTube channel. And I got so excited about our chats and our recordings and all the really cool people that we get to talk to. Thank you so much, Kendra. That I'm actually doing Lender Chat will continue to be live once a month where you all can ask questions and participate. But also once a week, I will be doing a live recording with just myself and someone involved in investment real estate, and we'll be posting those to Lender Chat. So subscribe to our YouTube channel, and you will start to see once a week we'll be posting informative videos about all things investment real estate. So, additionally, a couple more announcements. We are accepting if you're subscribed to our newsletter. It is once a month, and it is one page, and it will never be longer, and it will never be more often, because I want it to be, if I'm receiving a newsletter and I can't read it in 10 minutes or less, it's not going to happen. So I'm not going to do that to you. I also don't want to spam your email. But if you have something interesting to share in our newsletter, we are accepting article submissions. If you have something interesting to share with our Lender Chat participants, I would love to hear from you. If you have topics that you would like in either format, that you would, Chris, I would just really love for someone to discuss XYZ topic that I've always been curious about. Let me know, and we will find someone to talk about that with you. I know a lot of folks are concerned about the recent bank failures. That's been a topic of a lot of conversations with folks this week. One of the things that I heard on the news just this afternoon, actually, is that two of the banks that failed, Silicon Valley Bank and Signature Bank of New York, if you had a list of the top banks that had the most uninsured deposits, FDIC insured deposits, those two banks were the top, the one first and second highest account balances, depository account balances that are not FDIC insured. I found that very interesting, and I don't know what the correlation is in terms of cause and effect, but just something to notice. And I've had a couple of friends who have been researching their FDIC insurance levels and making sure they've restructured their bank accounts to make sure that they have all of the coverage that they would like to see. One of the benefits to us in the investor realm, real estate investor realm, not that I wish for anybody's bank to fail, and God bless all those folks, but we've actually seen a suppression of interest rates this week. What has happened evidently in the stock market is a lot of investors are fleeing their investments in bank stocks and bank holding companies and are running to the 10-year bond market instead. Well, the 10-year bond market yield is closely related to 30-year mortgage interest rates for investment real estate. So with all of the people flooding to the 10-year bond market, that yield is going down because demand is going up. So therefore, that means that the yield to the cash investors who lend their money for the investment real estate, the money that you and I are borrowing, the money that KFP Investors is lending, those rates are also suppressing. So we don't know how long that's going to last. It could completely change tomorrow, but there has been a little bit of hope and glimmer for us in investment real estate, that there's been a little bit of a positive outcome there. So I'm somewhat excited about that. Steve, I want to let you have the last word. Do you have anything else that you would like to share or ask? Well, you better come up with something now because you've been intrusive, sir. No, I'm just teasing you. Steve is great. For those who don't know, Steve Weaver is one of our originators. Wave your hand, Steve. He's here, and he is our expert in multifamily lending, land acquisition, horizontal development, and vertical construction. So, what does that even mean, right? Well, if it's more than 9 units of residential real estate, that's where it starts to enter Steve's realm of expertise. I believe one of the files he's working on right now is 86 units, and he's been having extra fun with that. But also for folks who are buying maybe a larger plot of land and they're going to subdivide it up and they're going to put in, they need to move some earth around. They maybe need to clear some trees. They're going to put in sewer and water and electricity, and they're taking a larger plot of land and creating a subdivision, whether they're selling them off, they're building the houses and selling them off, or they're creating the infrastructure and selling off the parcels to builders. That would be the development portion. And then the vertical construction is from the foundation up, of course. So a lot of folks who are more in the 1 to 4 units residential investment real estate realm, when I say development and vertical construction, they kind of give me a funny look like, how is that different? So now you know. And as G.I. Joe would say, knowing is half the battle. Hope to see you all again next month. And send us an email if you want to be subscribed to the newsletter. Check out the YouTube channel, more videos coming, more experts to give you great information. And also you can watch the progress to see if I ever get this construction project done. So thank you, everybody. Have a good night and a great
Thank you.
weekend.
Bye.